Manga Riot 9!
Even at 6, Juyak was taller, buffer, always leading, the one who always stood in front Suwa, his best pal, the one who said, "I'll protect you." In his little mind, it was already settled. He'd grow up to be an alpha, strong, reliable, the big hyong. They even promised to marry each other. Childhood certainty is powerful. When you're 6, the world feels fixed, predictable. But at 12, his body told him a different story. He wasn't alpha, he wasn't even beta. He was omega. And just like that, the future he imagined disappeared. Before we get into little Juyak's story, let's get some context about the ABO universe of which this story is set upon. For those unfamiliar of this subgenre, the ABO universe works like this. Alphas are born with superior genetics. Their body built, regardless of alpha male or alpha female, are bigger, stronger. They lead. Naturally, they form the front line of any nation. They command. They inherit the spotlight. Betas make up almost 90% of society. They are literally the you and the me in real-world sense. Man is man, woman is woman. Stable, functional, the working backbone of any nation in the ABO universe. And then, omegas. In many manga, omegas are written as fragile, emotional, easily overpowered. Often, their plots are reduced to little more than victim, or worse, breeding machine for the elite alpha bloodlines. Because in this universe, the most coveted outcome, an alpha child. And statistically, the highest chance for an alpha offspring comes from an alpha-omega pairing. So what usually happens? Creators glorify alphas. They romanticize dominance. And omegas? Often written to endure, to suffer in ridiculous heat cycles. So it is a norm to see most omega protagonists in manga or manhwa always hated themselves being born as omega, which is why this story feels different. This is Gong Juyak, a 21-year-old freshman at Hankook University, a national-level judo aspirant, and he is an omega. As you can see, he's very buff and burly, nothing like the stereotype, or shall we say, far from the typical androgynous version of omega we've acclimated to. Why is that? Because Juyak has a history. He differentiated in middle school, and from that day on, he refused it. He denies his omega status. Not once did he make peace with being omega. Not once did he lean in to what the world expected of him. Instead, he trained harder than anyone. Every muscle he built, every match he won, every scar he earned, in his mind, it wasn't thanks to his genetics, it was in spite of them, in spite of what he calls his weaker omega foundation. He trained to prove something, to the world, to the system, maybe subconsciously, even to himself. One day, little Juyak comes home from school. The house is decorated positively. Fancy party balloons twisted in words Happy Omega everywhere. Fancy banners shouting letters of congratulations on becoming an Omega. Even the cake says Happy Omega. Mommy beaming, but nervously, obviously. She knows her son's temperament well. Most alpha parents in this genre, having an Omega child is like a burden, a commodity. They would hide it, downplay it, or quietly resent it. Even in this story, we see his aunt said Grandpa and Grandma didn't want to come to the party. But this mother, she celebrates. Of course, Juyak hates it. He feels exposed, humiliated. He isn't ready to accept being an Omega. Because here's the thing about identity. Acceptance from others doesn't automatically become acceptance within. Especially worst when your best pal, the one he thought he'd be marrying when they become adult, The smaller one, the prettier, softer one, little Su-ah, is the one now giving him flowers and congratulating him for becoming Omega. Imagine being born into a world that tells you exactly who you're supposed to be, but reality hits differently. Mom is an alpha, and she comes from a long line of prestigious alpha family. It's be only natural for Juyak to think he'd at least be a beta if he didn't turn alpha. But when he actually becomes Omega, it hits him hard. He feels wrong, out of place, like the universe is playing as a prank, except there was no hidden camera to reverse anything. Mom is an alpha. She's a CEO heading a pharmaceutical company. That alone let us glimpse at how much power she has in her hand, how much control she can exert on others, making decisions, leading big negotiations. And suddenly, her one and only son turns out entirely different from what she expected. Hell, from anyone around them expected. Here's the key. Most alpha parents in the omegaverse manga would struggle. Often, we read omegaverse parents are ashamed of their omega child, even pressure their omega child to act better, leave them at the curb, or hide who they are. But this alpha mom doesn't do any of that. The creator has let her choose an entirely different path. She celebrates her son in Omega. This is a bold move for an alpha parent. Her move is golden. Though she is clueless how to raise an Omega child, that doesn't stop her from becoming resourceful. She brings in help. Omega neighbors, Omega friends, to show little Juyak something important. That, as an Omega, he can live well and thrive, totally not broken. Alpha Mom shows us a rare kind of alpha behavior, thoughtful, careful, and resourceful. She delegates to people who understand the world her son is now in. She celebrates, but doesn't force. She models acceptance and support, giving little Juyak room to process at his own pace. This is psychological gold. Why it matters? Look, in most ABO manga, alphas are pictured as overpowering, domineering. Omegas are always pictured as victims, weak, needy, and the stories always focus on drama, conflict, or dark romance. But in this manga called You Are My World, the narrative does something very rare, very, very rare. It gives a healthy, real-life approach to parenting an Omega child. This is the first time we see an Omega celebrated, and even rarer, by an alpha. Boy, that's what caught our attention. Nice work, creator. You celebrates identity, models empathy, and highlights resourcefulness, all through the lens of one who could easily have been a stereotypical, overbearing alpha. So if you've ever read a manga and thought, wow, that parent actually did the right thing, this is it. Juyak's mom is subtle, she's thoughtful, and she's every bit transformative. It reminds us that even in fictional worlds, healthy parenting and empathy can shine through. And sometimes it takes an alpha mom to teach that lesson. What do you think? Could more alphas in manga learn from her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
오랜 기다림 끝에 이 순간이 왔죠. 투명한 하늘 아래 우리 함께 now 가슴 벅찬 이 떨림은 진실이죠. 이제 두 손 잡고 영원히 함께 가